Good evening, everybody, and all the participants for this international conference that is there with regard to pandemic, because we have learnt a lot from this pandemic. COVID-19 has taught us a lot of things, and together with all these learnings, humankind has evolved a lot. There is a lot of evolution which has happened through that, and one of the evolution which I would like to present today is through a very common app that is there, which is used by almost everyone every day. So those who are with the mobile phones, I don't think there's a day that goes through and they don't click any link or any type of video that comes through, which is not through YouTube. So my presentation today is on the talent acquisition that through YouTube, which is there, which was a need during COVID-19. Because if you look at it, there was a lot of psychosocial involvement which was there. Why I say psychosocial is because when people were in isolation, it was very necessary to understand how to keep themselves occupied. There was a lot of people who felt that they were away from the whole part of the society that was there. And if you look at it in the 2020s as such, the whole dimension which I have put there is something in YouTube which has taught skill sets. So in a sense of division, which I have found out through a lot of sources that are there, which I mentioned in my paper, the dawn of 2020, skill sets were not very clearly visible, which were there through especially the youth. And in the mid-2020, we find that the skill sets a little better, and at the end, we see a little bit improved. I looked at it with the skill sets, and then, of course, with self-reliant learning also, they were a little primitive, and later on there was an improvement till we come to the end, where there's a dependent. And if you look at the YouTube videos, the understanding itself, in the dawn of 2020, it was a little bit poor because people were just sending videos, they had their channels, they were subscribing, that was there. But when the COVID-19 lockdown, not only in India, whereas in other countries as well, came up, it was a big hit, and there were suddenly videos which were not going up the scale, they suddenly rose up to millions and billions of views. So there was a better understanding of what type of videos people were watching at. And now by the end of 2020, I'm saying 2020, we are at 2021, of course, the clarity of thoughts through YouTube videos are very, very clear. YouTube, of course, is a great theater instrument and a knowledge tool as well. I mean, everyone can create their own channel there. They share their videos and comment on others.
I think he got again a network.
Yes, sir got disconnected from the meeting.
Videos which are customized. I've also expanded the students' understanding and have benefited visual learners as well. Because the visual understanding is what is taken up by learners in a better angle. So videos can be used to generate students' ideas. Now, if you look, please can you go to the next slide, sir? Yes. I have gone through this YouTube culture and trends which are there of 2020 and have taken two things which are generally looked after by people. One is, of course, during the pandemic,
I think there is some issue with
Yes, his network is up and down.
Yes, sir.
Let us wait some time whether he could come back or not. because it is beyond an individual's what is called boundary.
Yes, sir. But sir is seen in the meeting. Probably he's trying to resolve.
Due to network, sometimes voice may be lost.
A marginal rise, and even those trends which show it shows very clear that people try to find out of how to, and watched a lot of tutorial videos with regard to haircuts in their title. So when I'm presenting my presentation, I'm looking at it in two aspects. Of course, the viewership for this, the haircuts as well as culinary aspects have been related very well in most of the aspects as skills. So at the dawn of the year, the last year, the pandemic has proven that it can even give people some type of understanding and type of learning that is there. The channelizing of these learners towards certain talents would definitely improve their skill acquisition as well. Talents always bring out the inner childhood of an individual and prepare them for their identity. And this is what YouTube has done. For example, if a simple talent like cutting hair, many have trimmed their hair and styled out in the latest fashion, as even those who have cooking. So these trends, which are showing, these are of mid-March 2020. Okay, and you can see that the rise that is there is very sudden in the mid-March 2020. Now, could you please go to the next slide, sir? The next slide, sir. Yeah. The talent base, if you look for the culinary arts, people in the US as such, they found it that cooking would be much more better. Now, if I say it is talent acquisition, it has been on the rise in all spheres of YouTube videos. But certain aspects which have seen a sudden jump is one of this is cooking. And an art or a talent, you can call it, but it is something which everyone has imbibed. In the US, okay, people still continue to cook more as such, because once again you have the second wave which has passed through and all. 71% of the people there continue to do so even after the pandemic end, because it is one thing which is taken up by the consumer market research firm of Hunter. They have put it that 71% of people will say like, yes, we'll continue still there, and it is better that we do this. Whereas earlier it was they were going out and having food, and probably that was in the restaurant style. Now they have the shift which is there is all this cooking and restaurant style dishes have all come into the home, and this statistics is even rising in early 2021. According to Hunter, the firm which has done the research with this, they have been tracking it out for the last 9 months. And what they have found, which is very, very prevalent, is from the first survey in April to the most recent of the surveys which I have tried to find out at the end of 2020, the firm has developed a comparative perspective on the consumer's meal preparation and the consumer's behaviors and attitudes. Now these results just show that there are findings which are elsewhere as well, and they indicate that cooking from home is far from going out of style. Okay, and manufacturers need to adapt this new reality. This is even what Devenins says in his article. Now, before the pandemic, people were cooking less and eating outside, of course, but research suggests that a decline was underway in this, and cooking skills and confidence in a number of countries which has grown, even including India. The number of channels that have increased in India with cooking, we find a lot of channels which children have subscribed to and even liked, and they've even clicked the bell button, because that's a very common saying that every YouTube channel would have to put across. So they would say that, and this has been done by many people in India. The health agencies, of course, promote cooking, which were taken back by this trend because of its connection to better diets. However, a lack of time restricted people's ability to use these skills. Now, this pandemic, COVID-19, has caused a dramatic shift in the food practices of people. There are, of course, new trends, and one of the major things that has been is, of course, bread making. So people have turned to making bread. Of course, that is one thing which is there, and it has freed up the time for some people on the food preparation angle. An understanding of food-related changes during the pandemic is very necessary, which revealed a number of changes in how people approached food as well as cooking. People who never bought certain foods during the pandemic, even if we take ourselves, come last year at this time, 24th March, I think was the lockdown time. The day before, when the Prime Minister came on TV and announced that it's going to be lockdown, I'm sure, at least I ran to the shop and there was a big crowd there, all trying to just ransack the shelves and take whatever they could, because food was a commodity which was necessary. And the statistics which are taken by Level show that the shelves were emptied and goods which were beyond expiry were also decked out and stocked by people because it was very, very necessary. So if you look at it, cooking at home, a talent, of course, for health conscious needs, but the whole idea that has been there with cooking is something which has been imbibed. So the stocks which were taken in by people had to be used as such, and the people couldn't go out also, because food that was stocked was unheard of in the early 2020. But as the lockdown was announced in almost 60% of the countries in the world, with India also, highly populous country, facing that brunt from March to May. Now this study has been done by Contreras, and they have come to a conclusion there that many people have found themselves feeling insecure going to restaurants later. But the decline is not the only reason that is there. People, of course, wanted to have to try their skills also. So they learned something that is there. And this learning is what people are trying. So consumers, like for example, work from home has become the say of the day. And people who are working from home, sir, could you go to the previous slide, please? I'm just finishing up with the cooking. Yeah. So people who are working from home, they no longer stop for coffee or such and all. They used to have coffee and other things there. But here, the whole idea is when they're working from home, they try to imbibe even home-cooked meals. So they're working as well as having that. And this all came at a lower cost. Now, this video that Gordon Ramsay has been put, it has been viewed by over 1 million viewers on how to start cooking. So that shows that many of the people had not even a little bit idea of any skill with cooking. And YouTube videos have taught them how to learn cooking. Of course, how to start cooking looks very, very funny, but 1 million viewers is not a small number, and that is how the take is. Well, Mindshare India and the analytics platform Vidoli, okay, they have gone through and they have found that the rise is humongous. 300 billion views in the first quarter of the year, which is 13% more than the fourth quarter of 2019. So there's a tremendous rise in the views of YouTube videos with regard to food, okay, with culinary aspects. So how to cook. They learned this. That is one of the things that I would like to present. And the second thing that is of course with hairstyling. So the next slide would tell about that. And with the statistics that I mentioned here is the how-to videos that were there, especially on hair cutting, there was an increase by 50% in the early 2020s. Of course, it is still going on, and people still don't feel so maybe safe going to the salons because they may find themselves a little bit maybe that fear is there that they may get the virus into their bloodstream. So YouTube videos have taught them a lot of things, though maybe people have not been the best, but trying to cut their own hair is of course very difficult. So even own hair, and people have tried this with a lot of experiments. So if you go to the hashtag of that hashtag Corona Cuts, which is there on Instagram, we find that people have been posting their photos there, a lot of photographs, all those experiments, and they have put that. That's why it's called Corona Cut. So many have put their cuts. It's not the best that they have cut, but a skill which never before people have tried. So even before 2020, never has anyone tried cutting their own hair. So it is something which is a new talent or a skill that is there, though may not be the best, but I'm sure it will be something which will definitely get people into the going. Okay, so going ahead, if you look at the analytics, this is of stats.video of one of the channels that is there, Berkowitz Hair and Skin Clinic, and the rise that is there is tremendous. In the early half, this is something of which is from November, December, it has been taken, and the total subscribers have increased from 250,000 to 258,000. Okay, so that is the number, and the views that are there they have risen from 14.6 million to 15.2 million. This is in the last month of 2020. So these show that there is a lot of learning that has taken through with culinary arts as well as hairstyling with regard to the YouTube videos. And to bring to the conclusion, the next slide, sir, could you just put on the next slide? The conclusion which I have put up in my paper is that YouTube, of course, we have a lot of videos with YouTube. They assist in talent building and skill upgradation. Now, talent building and skill upgradation is one of the things which India has been going through with a lot of skill, trying to have it for youth. Of course, videos of various skills which can assist youth are also there on YouTube as well. So, skill building from YouTube can be imbibed in the lines of what we have in Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, so where they try to bridge the education to focus on skilling so that youth can be employable. Many learners have returned to their education, of course, now, but that change that is there, not only in the skills, not only in these skills, especially I'm saying culinary and with hairstyling, but other skills also as well. Some have learned music, some have learned probably singing, some have dance. There are so many other things, hobbies which people have imbibed and learned during this pandemic, and all through YouTube videos. Very recently, I was just watching Indian Idol, and there was a 16-year-old who plays a saxophone there, who learned everything during this lockdown from YouTube. Okay, it's just the last one, I think, the last show, last Sunday, but it's something which is there. So it's a skill. Playing the saxophone is not that easy. We have a person playing there in the Indian Idol. He plays wonderfully, so melodiously, and learnt only in this 2020. So 2020 is, of course, a year of skill development. If I look through it for YouTube, so employability factor has also increased. People have gained the skills, and this research gap between skilling individuals is of utmost importance. Now, YouTube as a media, I feel, has achieved somewhat during the lockdown due to COVID-19. So I would take to it as youth, as survival to strength. And I would like to end my presentation with this. So the next slide, of course, says thank you to everybody. So thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity to present here. Thank you, Dr. Reddy, and to the chairperson.